So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our final call of the year. What an incredible, huge year it's been so far. I am so excited and honoured to introduce Lucas. I'm just getting to know this incredible young guy myself. I'm just going to start with his bio, just some facts. He started in December 2013. He worked full-time at Porsche. Is that how I say it? Is that the European way to say it?
Well, in German you say, I don't even know how we say it. Yeah, Porsche. Yeah, we say in German Porsche.
It's like an A on the end if you're an Aussie, Porsche.
Yeah.
I'll teach you how to say it, Aussie. He reached SDD in April 2014. So what you're really telling us here is it took a year to get to position number 2, right?
It was like from December to April, like 5 months or so. So I wasn't the fastest one.
Awesome. And then NMD in March 2015. So that was a very quick, super stratospheric, very fast promotion to NMD. And then you went full-time after you reached NMD. PMD, which for you guys PMD is kind of like our 100 Club. I know it's a little different. In May 2016, 100 Club in September, and now he's 300 plus. And just, thank you first of all for joining us. Everyone's super excited. We don't know too many of you guys over in Europe. We do in the UK, but we had Claudia and Dennis on not long ago. So I just love the global feel that it brings. When we see exactly how global our company is, we're in 28 plus countries, expanding by the month, it seems. And so we're excited to hear whatever you would love to share about what you love about this business. And maybe just first, if you could tell us a bit about your story. I've covered a bit, but go for it.
Yes, sure. So first of all, thank you very much for asking me, because the funny thing is, I think it was last year, somewhere last year, where you were on a call for Claudia and Dennis. I think it was last year, December or something, right? Yeah. And this call impacted us very much. So thank you very much for asking me. So basically, I'm just quickly going to share my story that you know a little bit about me. Well, my past before I get to know the business is quite average, because I finished my A-levels when I was 19, and I don't know how it's for you guys in Australia, but most of the people who finish their A-levels, who finish their school, they're a little bit stuck in Europe. They have like a little bit, like I always call it, the first life crisis, not the midlife crisis, but the first life crisis, because they don't really know what to do with their lives, because there's so many possibilities. When I finished my schools, I had like 1 million possibilities, whether I go to university, whether I go to, I don't know, do like an apprenticeship, whether to go a year abroad or whatever. And I was a little bit like overwhelmed, because I didn't really know what to do with my future and what is the first thing I'm gonna do like for my living when I'm older. So basically I always knew exactly how I want to live my life. So I always loved watching Hollywood movies. I always loved watching movies or reading books from successful people, and I always laughed how I always loved how they lived their lives. It was not about the money I liked about it, but I always laughed that it seems like they have a fulfilled life. I always love to watch, like, as I said, like crazy movies. And I always thought, well, I want to live one day my life to be free, to be independent, to be successful in many ways, not only with money, but to be successful and feeling fulfilled with what my work I do. But I never knew how to come there, So I knew that I want to come here, and I was here, but I didn't know like what's the vehicle to come to this life, basically. And I was always really jealous. I was always jealous of people who knew exactly what to do after school. So when there was somebody who said, oh, I want to study and to become a teacher, I was jealous, because I thought, well, this person knows what he wants out of his life. And when there was somebody who says, oh, I want to become a musician, I was like, oh, damn, I don't know if I want to become a musician. I was interested, but I didn't have like the last click to say, okay, this is the purpose of my life. And if somebody said, I want to become a doctor, I was also jealous, because I was like, well, I'm not sure that I 100% want to be a doctor, if you maybe can understand how I mean it. So when I finished school, I first decided to do something totally different, because my parents, they raised me and educated me always to serve other people, to give something to other people. So I went 1 year to South Africa. I worked in a children's home for 1 year in Cape Town, which was probably one of the most incredible experiences I had. It was really, really tough as well, because I worked with a lot of people, like children who had like horrible past, like sexual abusement, and as you can imagine, so it was really, really tough at that age for me to work there. But it was also, I think I learned the most for my life at that time, and doing this work and just serve other people, just doing something for somebody else. And then when I came back, my parents, they were a little bit worried about me, you know, like parents are when you're 20, 21 and you haven't really started to work or to study or to do an apprenticeship. So my dad was a little bit like, okay, now you've done what you wanted to do, now you have to do something for your future. And then I was thinking about, okay, what do I like what gets me excited, and where can I think that I can have also a future, like career-wise. I hope that makes sense in English. I'm not native English, as you can hear. So I always loved cars, and I always loved fast cars, as most of the boys do. So I applied at Porsche, the car company, because this was always my favorite car. And I wanted to do some like business development, management, career program over there, to say it like this. So I applied for a 2.5-year pre-career study thing. I don't really know how to explain it in English. And I should do everything in business over there, you know, like controlling and marketing, and to go to all those different things in the company. And then they took me. So I was really excited that they said yes, because there was like, I think like 12,000 people applied for this, and they took only 7. So I was really excited. My family was really excited. And, you know, my dad was really proud that his son started to work in this company. And I don't know if you guys know this, but sometimes in life, when you're, when it's about to change something in your life, even like maybe it's a new job, or it's a new home, or it's a new relationship, or when you were younger, it was a new class, you're really excited about the new thing which is going to happen, because you think, oh, now everything changes. And when the new thing is there, after a short time, you're a little bit disappointed, because you feel, oh, everything is quite the same. And this was exactly how it was for me. So I thought, now I know what I do with my life. Now I'm super excited. I know like how to go here to the life I was always dreaming of. And when I started in this company, I realized quite quickly that it was, at the end of the day, the same kind of job, the same kind of system I used to know in all my part-time jobs I did when I was younger. So when I was younger, I think I worked everything you can imagine. I worked at McDonald's, I worked as a waiter, I worked as a night shift at Mercedes. So I did everything you can do at this age. And I was a little bit disappointed then after some months at Porsche, because I was like, wow, it's not that, it was special. You know, you have to think it is a really special job you can get in Germany, but it was not that kind of job which was like, I don't know, complementary with where I wanted to be in my future, because I worked for somebody else. I didn't have the freedom. And one thing which was a little bit annoying for me, that I didn't have the feeling that I'm responsible for how much I work, you know. So because when you work in a company, you have different tasks, and when you fulfill this task, that's it. Even if you want to do more, you don't get paid for the more you want to do. And this was something which I stuck a little bit. And then I was open for new things, okay? And then I took the decision in my head to say, okay, that's not the end. So that's not the end. And my plan was, I told everybody, before I started to work at Porsche, I told everybody one day I'll be the CEO. So my plan was to do this 2.5 years program. Then my plan was that they pay me for a private study. Then when I wanted to do my doctor's degrees when I was 30, and I said when I'm 35 I'm going to be the CEO of Porsche. So that's the story I told everybody. But then I said, okay, I don't think that that's the end, that this is where I'm going to work my whole year and my whole life. And I was just open. I was just completely open in my mind, open to attract new things. And it's probably the biggest lesson ever, just to be open for everything and all time. Even when I'm just 24 years old, I can tell you that so many things I have in my life, not only the business, so many things I attracted because I was just open. Anyway, and then it was the day where one of my best friends came to me. At that time I was doing a lot of sports, a lot of fitness, but I'm still doing it, and I was doing it more at the time, to be honest. And then he came to me, and then he basically did everything wrong, what you can do wrong, you know. We learn all this, how to invite somebody from Eric Borey and blah, blah, blah. And he did everything wrong, everything. He just came and said, hey, to me and my friends, who were like a group of guys who were hanging out all the time and like spending all the time together at weekend and sports and gym. And then he said, I have a business with a shake and capsules, and you can earn money. And it was so, honestly, he did everything wrong. And he said there is a group of young people in the UK who are very successful, and soon we're going to do the same in Germany. And I didn't understand actually what he wanted from me, but he was excited. And excitement is over everything. Over everything. Even if you tell it totally wrong, if you're super excited, if they, you know, it's like always Tony Robbins says, it doesn't matter what you say, only the energy counts, right? It's only the energy that counts. Everything else is, at the end of the day, doesn't count. And then he was super excited. I was like, wow, like, because the funny thing is, he was a guy who usually never got excited about something. And you don't have to be the most extroverted guy in this business. But if you're not very extroverted usually, and you get extroverted when you speak about the business, people listen, right? People start to listen. And I listened because I was like, wow, usually he's a little bit introvert. Now he's excited about something, so that must be something funny or something exciting. And then I was invited to my first business presentation. And you won't believe where my first business presentation was. But my first business presentation was at McDonald's. You know, in McDonald's, to introduce me to a health and fitness and nutrition business. So I was really skeptical, as you can imagine. So I walked into McDonald's at that time. I thought I was the coolest kid ever. I had this Parker, I had white Nike Air Max and jogging pants, and so I would have never signed me up, to be honest. But never judge a book by its cover, right? So I walked in there with my friends, and then there was sitting a guy, and he had an iPad. And the reason why we were at McDonald's was because he couldn't afford the SIM card to download the online presentation, and he needed free Wi-Fi at McDonald's. All right, so we sat there, and then he started to tell us the business. And this changed everything for me, my life forever and ever and ever, because I didn't understand what he said, right? I understood the products. And I think the best part about our business is that we don't have to be so specific about the products, because they're so easy. You know, we don't have to come with 250,000 studies of whatever. We just say it's fruits and vegetables. So I understood the product immediately, but I never understood the business at the beginning. But what I understood was that there was a person who had exactly the same vision of his life like me, to be free, to be independent, to give something back. You know, he called me after 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, he said, one day I want to build children's home in South Africa. And I was like, well, whatever you do, I'm in, to be honest, you know, because he told me that he wants to come here. And you remember at the beginning, I told you that I knew where to go, but I didn't know the vehicle. And he was 1 year older than me, and he gave me the feeling that he had the vehicle. And that's it. That's the end of the story. So at the end of the day, he caught me, or he got me, because I felt so close to him, because we had the same point in life where we want to go. And it was like, wow, he has the way how to go there. And he didn't have anything at that time. The first thing he told me was that he was broke because he had a startup company before and he had like 15,000 euro in debt because the startup company failed. The second thing he told me was that he quit his university because of the the startup he did before, and now that he has 3 or 4 part-time jobs to even afford living. So it was not about that where he was, it was all about where he wants to go, which attracted me. And yes, then I signed up, and then in my first 4 months I was really, really successful because I didn't reach anything, nothing. After 4 months I earned $20, okay? So you have to imagine when you're 20 years old and you earn $20 after 4 months. When you go to your best friends and say, hey, I have a really cool business opportunity for you. You can earn $20 after 4 months, so you can invite your girlfriend to the cinema, but she has to pay for the popcorn herself, okay? So that was basically the story of my first 4 months. But why? Because I wasn't really finally committed. So I was excited and everything, but the last click was missing. We had a lot of negativity at the beginning and people who hated it and blah, blah, blah. As probably all of you know. And I was super excited and I believed in the business from the first second, but the last 100% believing in myself that I can actually do it was not there. So after 4 months, luckily, we had the first company convention. And I already prepared some long WhatsApp texts to my upline why the business is maybe not the right thing for me. Because, I never was like, oh, I'm not doing it, but I was frustrated. When you earn $20 after 4 months, I was a little bit frustrated, as you can imagine. And then he said, okay, come to the convention. I was like, okay, yes, I come to the convention because I don't know how really to translate in English, but sometimes in life you say, oh, I should have given it more there or there. So maybe some of you guys have said, oh, in school, I should have paid more attention at school, or I should have been nice in this relationship, or I should have been this, I should have been. And I promised myself that I hated to regret something. That's for me probably the worst thing in life, to regret. Okay. And I told myself I won't say in a year I should have gone to this convention, because this I should have in German sounds so horrible that I told myself, oh, I will never, ever, ever say it again. And then I went to this convention, and this convention probably then changed the final thing for me, because at this convention, I really understood. I always believed that I could do it. Always, I always thought, well, when I do it, then I do it. But the final click left, and there was two moments at this convention. For example, one person, he stood on stage and he said, my name is Harald Wissel. I'm financially free. He was 50 years old or so. And then he said, I used to be a mechanic. And now I have a business in 14 countries with 7,000 people, and I don't speak one single word English. And I was like, what? I was really good at school. I was really good at English. I was really passionate about it, and I had $20. And he have a team of 7,000 people, so there must be something which I'm doing wrong. That was the first thing that I understood. There is no magic. There is no magic, and you don't have to be born, and that your talents don't count. That was the first moment. And the second moment was when actually Dennis he asked just the audience, like, if you're honest, who of you have ever given 100% for a dream? Not 90%, not 95%, not 98%, but 100%. And then I was like reflecting my short 21 years life, and I did actually a lot of things in my life. A lot of things. I was really, really good at school, but I was not the best one. Because I was talented, but I didn't use the talent. I played the piano, and I played the flute, and the clarinet. I was really, really good, but I was not the best one, because I didn't put the work on, because I only relied on my talent. And there were some different things in my life where I regret that I didn't give it all, and I didn't give 100%. And that was the second moment at this convention where I was like, okay, that's me. So that's me, where he's talking about. I gave 90%, 95%, but never 100%. And yes, then after this convention, I really started to do something, I sat down with my upline and I said, okay, now show me what to do. And then I went STD, but I only went STD because my best friend, who was in my downline, he bought for 3,000 euro products, and you need 4,000 points. So he bought for his whole family for 3,000. So I only had to do 1,000 for my crazy story at the beginning. But then we started at that time, and you have to think at that time in Germany, there were no young people doing this business. So nobody. I think the youngest person at that time who was doing really the business was like 35 or 40. So it was really not a really young generation business. And then we had to do everything on our own. There was nobody who showed us how to do the things. We had to educate ourselves totally on our own. We had amazing uplines, but they were doctors who were like 60 something. So they couldn't really show us how to do the business. They couldn't show us how they did it back then. But we had to find our own way, and we only had the UK people as like you as our heroes, you know, like John and Chris and everybody at that time, and Katie. They were like our heroes all the time. But we only saw what they were doing, but we had to find our own way. So we started from doing events like 6 times a week, you know, at one point after we all, you know, we were like 50 people at the beginning, and we all invited our friends and our friends and our friends' friends. And then at one point we didn't have any more people to invite, right? Because they either did it, they either said no, or they blocked us. And then we were thinking about how do we get new people, and you won't imagine what we did, but we called this street game, okay? We were calculating how many people we have to speak at on the street, that so and so many people give us their Facebook, that so and so many people come to our events, that so and so many people who attend the events say yes, and so many people who say yes become a key persons. And then we went on the weekends and after work, because we did it part-time at the beginning, we went on the street. You probably have, wherever you live, like a main shopping street. And where we lived, it was called Königstraße. And we were walking 5 hours up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down, speaking to people on the street. Like this is, but we had the dream to become LMD and PMD, and we never thought about, oh, it's embarrassing, or well, we drank a little bit of beer at the beginning, that we were not so shy speaking to the people, but we just did everything. We did everything. And then, you know, and then we had the first struggles. We invited a lot of people to the events, and they attended. We had events with 200 people, but nobody signed up. Nobody signed up because we didn't have something to teach our people to sign it up. So we had to start to, you know, read GoPro and do our own manuals and, you know, our own system strategies. And, you know, our thing was we never thought about what we did. We just did it. We planned it, we did it, and then we review. And that's probably the best thing for you. You have to plan something, do something, and review. Did it work? Didn't it work? What can I like improve? And yes, and then as Linda said, after 1 year, I became NMD. And NMD for us is a little bit lower than your NMD, I think, to do it. So I went NMD, and then I had like a good average full-time income, and then I quit my job after a year, and then I did it full-time. And then the last 2 years were just like crazy, incredible ride. It went up and down and up and down, but at the end, with our movement in Europe, maybe you know my upline Timo Bauer, like he started everything, and we created like a massive movement all over Europe, and which I'm really excited about. And we had some good times and really struggling times, but I think that's everything. All
awesome. Wow, that is an incredible background. You took us on a really incredible journey there. I want to recap just a few things that I think are really important, because I'm 9 years in. I'm like an old Juice Plus grandma here, and I did the old way, like the old doctors. That's how I was taught. And then we did the newer, younger way, you know, inspired by Europe, and then we needed to kind of Aussiefy it. So I've taken pages and pages of notes, but I love the initial story. You really were responding to excitement and vision. That was the thing that I got. It didn't matter that the guy was not getting anything right. He was broke and using McDonald's Wi-Fi. I mean, that's gold, that story right there. Because we often hear that as a major excuse from people. I'm not yet successful. And that's the perfect example of you don't need to be. We're storytellers. He was telling the UK story. That was exciting. So vision and excitement was really big. I also got that it was the vehicle. You were not satisfied doing the ordinary. You saw that it was a long road ahead. You were looking for the vehicle to magnify really quickly. So you going to convention was pivotal. And perhaps if you didn't go, you might have just been a statistic of, it's not worth it, I can't do this. So that is, we've always built very big around our conventions for this reason, because it's so many different people that may impact you. And this one guy, we all have just hands up, let's go on gallery view for a second. Hands up if you went to a conference, someone dragged you there, and you heard the one or two things that you were like, wow, this guy doesn't even speak English and he's financially free and he's got business in 14 countries. That's like, is that even possible? So I certainly had that moment myself. And if you scroll through all 5 pages, there's a lot of us that had a really defining moment there. So convention was key, then the belief started. And then a friend helped you out, bought lots of stock. A lot of people kind of hustle to position number 1. Like, we love, isn't it nice, everyone, to hear that we all have very similar first stage and stage 1 and 2 of the journey, okay? It's really pivotal as well. You've had the frustrations, you've had the ups and downs, and that NMD, you were just 100% focused on that, and you understood that it was a numbers game, and you were even prepared to spend 5-hour days on shopping strips to do the numbers. That's extraordinary. Most of us here have never done that and probably never will, because I really love you pointing out what this guy had said from stage. Have you ever really given 100% to your dream? And we really do get to do that here. So that's the background. Once you got to NMD, what do you think are some of the most important things when you look back? What do you think are some of the most important things, Lucas, in building the belief, in building you mentioned events, and one after another, people weren't signing up. So you didn't say, oh, it doesn't work, we're crap, let's give up. You just were refining. What else do we need to do? Why aren't they signing up? What do you think was the turning point after NMD and getting to 100 Club? Because that's a very different leadership and business to build as well, and that duplication onto 300 Club. What do you think are the most important things when people are creating that vision for financial freedom? What do you think are the most important things for them to, really be thinking about as they're growing moving forward?
Yeah. So the funny, the first thing which is really important, I think everything is a process. Okay, everything is a process. So sometimes we judge our situation really, really much. Okay, we say our situation is like this because we really judge the situation. We sometimes forget that it's all a process. And sometimes the process takes 3 years, and sometimes it takes 5 years and 7 years. But at the end of the day, it's, I always say you can't compare Cristiano Ronaldo to Jay-Z, right? Who's more successful? Totally different people. One is an icon in the music industry, one is an icon in the football. They're both icons, but you can't compare them. So this is something we have to know for our business. And when I went NMD, I stuck, as a lot of people do when they become NMD, because NMD is kind of like, like a pinnacle, like a ride, and they come to this ride and then it's a little bit over, and sometimes people don't, or they forget what they brought there, and then you try to systemize your system and systemize it again and systemize it again and make it better and more perfect, and then you're stuck and you forget the basics. And the basics are for everybody the same. If you're dealer, if you're NMD, or if you're Club 100, you have the same basics, right? Show people the business, the more people you show the business, the more sign up, show people the products, the more people you show the products, the more customers, and to promote the events. Okay, that's what every successful person will tell you is the basics. But actually, a couple of things changed for me when I went NMD. The first thing is the intention. The intention, it's not the intention why you do the business, so it's the intention how you do the business is for me the key. So you can say, you know, being ambitious is important. If you have no ambition, you won't come everywhere. So you need the ambition. But right after the ambition, there needs to be the intention how you come there. And the right intention, in my opinion, is only and will only be and always be put others people first. That's for me the main intention. So you can be sitting here and say, I really want to go Club 100. I really want to go this and this. And it's good to have the ambition. But if the reason why you do is only your ambition, maybe you will go there, but it won't make you happy. Okay? But if you have the true and pure intention that you want to go there by lifting others, it's so much fun. And this is we all holding hands and all love each other, blah, blah, because we don't do it all the time. But it's true, intentionally lifting other people, and then you will reach all your goals. Okay? So what I did after I went NMD, I spent the time the people deserved, right? And every person who wants my time deserves my time. It doesn't matter how many sales the person makes. It doesn't matter what position it is. It doesn't matter anything. But if somebody wants to spend time with me, the person deserves my time. And what I did is I was really looking for people who wants to spend time with me, and I spent time. And time is the most valuable things you can give the people. You can give them presents, recognition, incentives, but they will never, ever, ever, ever forget the time you spend with the people. And all the people in my business who are successful now, who have 100 clubs or close to 100 clubs, who earn 5 digits a month or whatever, these are the people I spent the most time with after I went NMD, because it took me from NMD to IMD, which is in the next position in Europe, like 8 months or so, or 9 months. And I really struggled because it didn't grow, it stayed the same. And I asked myself, why? And then I understood, okay, it's the time. If I want to grow you have 2 possibilities how you can grow your business. You can write people in and help them to become STD and millions, or you can have the intentions to put the people who are STD then to the next level, okay? And I always see that there are 2 kinds of leaders. There are one kind of leaders who put in a lot of people, who sign up unbelievable a lot of people and bring them to the first position and have so many, PB legs, but they're all small legs. And then I see people who are really good in building some people. And the best people are the ones who do both, okay? Because if you only sign up the people, bring them to the first positions and don't work with them to develop them, to bring them to the best leaders, it's not cool. And if you only work with 2 or 3 people, then maybe you're stuck at one point because you haven't signed up enough people that you're wide enough, okay? So you need to do both, but you need to know now, are you not signing up enough people that you have fresh blood, or are you not working with the people to go down and down and down and down? And I did after NMD. I looked at the people and I had the intention to grow them to NMDs. And then I worked with them and their people, and I went down and I went down until they had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 key persons in their legs. And at the end of the day, this volume pushed everything up to me. And this is for me. And I know you have to love people for this. When I joined the business, I said I don't like people. But if you don't love people, you won't grow the massive organization. So I fell in love with loving the people. And I truly mean it. All the people in my business who are successful, they're really, really close to my heart. We are not always the best friends, okay? You probably know this as well, Linda. You have it's like in a relationship. But in every good relationship, you grow with each other, and I grow with them. So this was the problem. obviously nothing, having 2 customers. I wouldn't be here and his business wouldn't be how it is if he wouldn't spend the time with me. So it's totally fine. And I wanted to spend time with him, even though I didn't do a lot of sales or volume or whatever, how you call it in English. So if you start to spend truly time with the people, and I mean everything, going with them to eat together, going with them to cry together, going with them to do everything, then those people stay. Oh, I need a charger. Then those people stay. Oh, 1 second. 1 second, sorry.
So that's a great question there, Lee. I'll just clarify with Lucas what he means, because it's one of the challenges of leadership. So that's,
I feel.
Go ahead. I was just wanting to clarify, because this is such a great topic. We have a lot of senior leadership on the team as well, and it's one of those great parts of stepping into leadership is knowing where and how to spend our time and who with. And, you know, Leah's kind of asked it here. What are the main requirements people have to do to qualify to have your time? How would you answer that?
Well, you know, there are 3 things for me who identify like a key person, okay? 3 things. The first thing is the person shows up. The person is everywhere. The person on every Zoom call, the person at any event, on any training, everywhere. The person shows up. That's the first thing. The second thing is the person, I don't know how to translate, but the person is like calling you, annoying you, like the person who is always asking, who looks for the contact and looks again and looks for the contact and looks for the contact, looks for the contact. That's the second one. And the third thing, that's the most important thing, the person is doing something. The person doesn't have to do the perfect thing, but the person is doing something. Even if he's doing everything wrong, it doesn't matter. At least the person is doing something. And with those 3 things, I identify a person. Somebody who shows up, somebody who calls me, somebody who calls and asks me all the time, and somebody who's doing something. Even if I give him a script, how you do it, and the person is turning the script around and doing it the other way, it doesn't matter, because the person is doing something. You see there is an intention of action in the person. And this is with the person. And then, you know, honestly, I had people who didn't do it, I have such an amazing girl. Her name is Elizabeth. She lives in Switzerland, and she's also PMD and also 100 and more club. And she has a big business in France and Belgium. And the first 6 months, she didn't do anything. She was in every event, you know, one of those people who come to every event, who look nice, who smile, who like it, but she didn't do it. She didn't do much. She didn't, and then 1 second, and then her business exploded. But we spent a lot of time. And I visited her, and I brought her Think and Grow Rich, and I did this, and I said, let's do an event, and there were people, and nobody signed up, but I was still feeding it, and still spending time, So the same story, how my upline did it. So the time, the proximity is probably for me the most leadership, the most real leadership. You know, there are books and books about leadership, and John Maxwell and everybody, but true leaders, in my opinion, spend time with the people. In the good times and the bad times, and always give them the feeling that you believe in them, even when they don't believe in them. When they have those 3 key things I just told you. And then another thing is, I actually heard this at the GoPro event now in Las Vegas again, which is honestly probably the most important thing. When you reach a position in something, and also a high position, sometimes you get really complacent. Does it mean complacent? Yeah, complacent. And this is like honestly death. Like complacency is then you've honestly lost everything. So, but that's so. If you're complacent at the moment, it doesn't mean that you can't still get Club 1000. You know, you just have to re-clarify your goals all the time, and clarity is the most important thing for me. And I mean like true clarity, not writing once, this is my goal for 2018, but reading this goal again and again and again and again and again. You know, clarity. And the bigger your clarity is, the more self-motivation you get. You know, people always talk about how do I get motivated, and I don't like motivation, because motivation is like cold shower, right? A hot shower, right? You go in the shower, it's hot shower, you go out, it's cold again. It's when you watch a motivational Zoom call or video or whatever. What you really need is like true inspiration. And true inspiration, after you reach something to go to the next position, is about clarify your goals, okay? Now, you probably heard this, all of you probably heard already clarity and you need to see your goals, but common sense is not common practice, right? Common sense is not common practice, only because you've heard this 1,000 times. Who is already doing this every single day, sitting there, reading your goals and being sure about this? Is what I also did after I need to, you know, jump in my business, after I wanted to have a massive growth from this first leadership position to go higher, to clarify and to re-clarify and to don't get complacent, yeah, with what I have. So this is probably the two most important things for me to like proximity is power, the time you really spend with the people, because it's also that I sometimes see people that they lean back a little bit, but you know, for me it's like this. I always had one goal in my mind. I always said the goal is 5 NMD legs. Whatever comes, 5 NMD legs, whatever it takes. Before I don't have 5 NMD legs, I won't go in holiday. Okay, this was honestly what I said, and I tell you why 5. Because if you have a chair, a chair can stand with at least 3, right? If a chair has 3 legs, the chair can stand, but it's not very safe. With 4 legs, a chair can stand also. This is okay, but with 5 legs, when a chair has 5 legs, it's really safe. Even 1 leg breaks down. And this was my drive, or is still a drive for me now, after I had 5 NMD legs, to say I want 5 PMD legs. You know, I want 5 Club 100 legs. So this is a kind of a clarity which always pushes me to do it again and again and again. So yeah, the clarity and the proximity is really important, I think.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we've got lots and lots of notes here. What about when it's a quieter time? I know you guys are in a big surge, and we've learned some of the lessons from the UK. What are you doing to keep that inspiration? I love your distinction between motivation and inspiration, your own clarity, and to me it always comes back to leadership. You're clarifying and re-clarifying your next goal. How are you doing that with your team? What do you have in place where you're doing that?
For me, yes. Of course, I do it with vision boards. I like to write stuff down. So vision board is cool, and I have an amazing. It's basically one of them is here. So yeah, you've probably seen this, all of you. So this was like one of them. I'm still ticking off, But yeah, I had this. Well, you know, this is the one I still tick off. Don't have this one yet.
It's gorgeous.
So a little bit more time about this. And I like to write things down. I'm really a believer in words, you know, to write down your, if you call it affirmations or whatever. I like to write letters, you know, about my goals, and then hang them, put them somewhere here. And pictures is nice, but I also like the letters, you know, do it as my screensavers and stuff like this. And then sometimes I read something and I think, okay, that's not me, and then I rip it off and I write something new. But I do the clarity very, very often with reading what I write myself. You know, I write diary. That's something I learned from Robin Sharma. You probably know Robin Sharma, all of you, right? Yeah. You know Robin Sharma? Yeah. Yes. I was at his coaching in Toronto, and he really inspired me with journaling. It's really cool, writing a journal. It's the coolest thing ever. You know, when I was younger, I was always like embarrassed writing a journal because I thought only people with problems do this. You know, those kids who have like heartbrokens and stuff, you know, when you're 15 or so. But journaling is so powerful because so every morning I write 20 minutes my journal, and so I reread my journal, and this is how I clarify my clarity, you know, when I read about what I'm writing and stuff like this.
And so what are some of, because I've just written, for those that may not know Robin Sharma, I'm a huge fan as well. You know, the monk that I wrote that stole his Ferrari. He didn't steal it, he sold it. So I've just corrected my words there. But while we're on the topic of books and mentors, what other books or mentors do you love to follow, and who do you kind of pass on to your team to teach as well?
You know, there's an exciting thing about books, and I have my own theory about it. You know, sometimes you hear people telling you that the average CEO reads 50 books a year, okay? And sometimes you hear people saying Bill Gates reads every week 1 book. This is probably true, but I don't think that when Bill Gates were hustling to create Windows, he read 2 books a week. I don't think so. I think he was reading, doing it, hustling, and then he read the next thing. And sometimes I see people and feel people who they get lost in personal. I'm a huge fan of personal development, of course, but sometimes I see people who get lost in personal development. They ask me, Lucas, can I have a next audiobook, the next book, the next audio, the next book? And then I think, well, you're already completely overwhelmed with all your personal development. So what my strategy is, I can be really honest, you know, the book,
yes.
How to Win Friends and Influence People from Dale Carnegie. I've never finished this book because every time when I read it, I come to something which is like so inspiring for me that I say, I have to take the book away now and practice what I just learned, right? So I never finished this book. I think 2.5 years ago, a girlfriend gave me this book and I never finished it yet, because every time I come to a point where I think when I go on now, I won't practice what I just read. So if it's a thing with don't saying but, or it's a thing with not criticizing people or whatever. So if you read books, this is just an advice from me personal. If you read the book, and when you find something which you think, wow, this is now a good click moment, I've never known this before, practice it. And you can take the book and put it somewhere and say, put like a mark where you were, and then take it again and read it. Okay, this is just a personal advice for me. I don't know if it's the truth, but this shows just how I feel. So books who I like is I read a lot of this from Tony Robbins and from Robin Sharma and from Robert Kiyosaki, and but I also read philosophy books from Socrates or whatever, because I like reading stuff like this from when I was younger. And probably I always say like the top 4 books for me is Rich Dad Poor Dad. From Robert Kiyosaki, because for everybody who maybe sometimes stuck a little bit in, I don't have the final decision yet, this is the book to take a decision, because after I read this book, my life was not how it was before, because I had these 2 different worlds and 2 different thinking. Then if you struggle in building relationships with your team, or if you wish you would have more relationships, then obviously the How to Win and Influence Friends by Dale Carnegie. And then I also have some books in German, which they don't have in English. And then the main book for me, the main
you can't tell us that there's a German secret book that's going to change our life and we can't get it in English. You can't do that.
But it's not secret. It's not secret. It's no, it's not the secret. But the book for me, which is like the over everything book, is Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. But also, this is a book you don't read. This is a book you study, you know, because you read something and it's so long and so much information, and so you really have to study these books. And I'm a fan of having a couple of books, rereading all the time, than reading 1 million books now. I think maybe when I'm 50, I can read, you know, 1 million books, but until then, I just want to know something, practice it, and then learn the next thing.
I love it. Well, we have almost taken up a whole hour of your time. Is there any questions, guys? Just pop it in the chat section. Let's see if you've got a burning question that will serve the group. Please go ahead and ask it. And I will just wrap up with saying, do you still play the flute?
Yes, and I have a piano here as well.
You do? I
No,
love it.
I don't practice. I don't practice the flute. You know, I did a Facebook Live. Do you have Christmas markets in Australia? No, probably not.
No, it's too hot. We just go to the beach and like get
Yeah,
too hot
yeah.
at shopping
You
centers.
know,
I love
in
those.
Germany and a couple of other European countries, you have Christmas markets. So when there's Christmas, it's snowy, it's cold, and you have like this little like houses they made where you can drink, you know, Christmas wine and buy Christmassy stuff and have like this hats on. And you know, my first ever hustle was when I was 6 years old. I was playing the flute on the Christmas market to get money, you know, and I was really small, really cute, and had this hat. And then my parents put me there. I was playing the flute, and I had the hat there where I was collecting money, and I made so much money at that time because, you know, I was so small and people thought, oh, let's give him some money. So yeah, it was quite funny.
I love it. There's no other questions. Oh my goodness. Have you started on the house in Africa? Do you have any further plans? Is something coming together there?
Well, the organization I went to South Africa back then, you know, the volunteer organization, we're doing a lot of charity with our movement. So we just did at our Christmas event. So I did a lot of events around Christmas now with the team, and then every event we raised a lot of money for there. But I don't specifically have built my own thing there yet. But we're supporting a lot of. That's also a good thing for your business, right? When you have a movement,
It is.
when you do charity.
Yes.
That's something just everybody likes and gets people excited, and, you know, builds a culture. And the culture is probably the most important thing anyway.
Okay, so last two questions. One is from Amanda, who is in Uganda, and she's asking, when you stopped people on the street, what did you say? You had us all very enthralled there. We're like, what is he saying?
So first of all, we were always a boy and a girl who did this together, to doing the context, because when you're a boy and you do it alone, every girl you speak to thinks that, you know, you want to, you know, get this number.
Good tip.
So we were just looking for people who looked like fit, you know, who looked like they're working out and doing sports, and we just like jumped in front of them and said like everybody says, hey, I don't know, we know each other, and I just have to go, but you, like, I don't know how to say it in English, but like I had to speak to you because you look like really positive. Like, how's your day? And then they were like a little bit like, and it was like, hey, no worries, I just have to go. My train is going. I don't have so much time, but I saw you, and we are building a big fitness concept here in Stuttgart. And I was wondering if you're working out, if you're passionate about fitness and nutrition. And then they usually said yes, because we only spoke to people like this. And then they got like, we had like a little relationship thing because they were working out, we were doing sports. And I was like, hey, as I said, my train is coming, I have to go, but let's connect on social media. Maybe we can work together because we have a really fun concept. And then I said, can I have your phone? You know, because I don't add them, I add them from my phone. So I got the phone, and then I typed my name in, and they added me on their phone, and then I said, that's it.
And probably because any time that I've been bold enough to do that, usually those contacts don't end up being too much. But what happens is you hone your skills and your courage and your verbiage, right? You get better. So when you can have those valuable conversations, that's great. And
you know, it's only, and I still, you know, I don't go on the street now because obviously we work over social media. But, you know, even if I'm an extroverted guy, I'm not the guy who, you know, there's some people who go on a party alone, and after the party, the whole party knows the person, right? You know, those people who are connectors, who don't have, I'm not the one. I'm really good with when I have a relationship, but I'm not the one who's running around and makes the whole day. That's not me. You know, some people are this, but as I know that that's not me, I want to be like this because I know that that brings me forward. So whenever we meet, whenever you come to Germany or when I come to Australia and we're for dinner or whatever, you see me connecting with every person, with every waiter. So every waiter who comes, I make a funny compliment. Every waiter I ask questions, you know, because, you know, the questions in life determine the quality in your life. So I ask questions, and at the end of the day, when we get the bill and when I get a good tip, I say, hey, let's connect on Facebook. And, you know, that costs me so much courage because I'm not the person who's naturally connecting. But I know that that's important for the business. So I really get myself out of this comfort zone again and again and again and again. So that's just a tip I can give you. And I'm not, so as I said, I'm not the one who's doing this naturally. But I know that this is a good skill to do this. So I force myself to do it.
Yes. And just a quick funny story, because we're all part of Jeff Roberti's world somehow. When we had dinner with him, he still does that, by the way. He still connects with every waiter and he says, I want to give you a gift. That's his way of how he introduces it. I've literally seen him do that. Take them off to the side. This changed my life. It might just change yours. I want to invite you. This is a gift. And off he goes. So that's gold. Lastly, tell us about your W movement, because we know that people want to join a movement. You weren't stopping people in the street saying, I've got fruit and veggies in a capsule backed by 33 peer-reviewed published medical journals, and I've got a network marketing business. People love a movement, a program. But tell us more about that, how you came up with that and where that's...
The first thing is, when we started, we had a program immediately for the product. So we understood that, you know, because we were so young, we were all like 20. And when you're 20 and when you go to other people who are 20 and you speak about products, everybody may say, you know, nobody wants to buy a product at this age. I don't know how it is in culturally in Australia, but we understood, you know, Germans are so German. Oh gosh, you know, Germans are so... I love Germans, but we're just Germans, you know, we're very practical and, you know, so we did our product, our program, and we called our product Body Challenge. And we said, okay, it's a whole program. You can lose weight, you can have better skin, you can have better kids and whatever, blah, blah, whatever you want to. And then so we said, and part of the program are the products and part of the program are plans. So we have like workout plans and nutrition plans and everything. And this went really well for us because we went out there on social media and we went out there with our friends and we were only speaking about the Body Challenge. You never heard Juice Plus. You heard Juice Plus when they said, oh, let's listen to it. But we called it 90-day Body Challenge. That was our program. And it was really good that we had it because it went off really good. And then the funny thing is, it all came down to the story I told you after I went NMD, when my business was like not growing how I wanted to grow it. You know Dr. Sven Goebel, right? I don't know if you already also worked with him before. He was at Juice Plus, and he was probably our biggest mentor, our biggest mentor in Europe. And then we had a funny story. It was 3 years ago. Yes, 3 years ago, after I went NMD, I was with Timo, my upline, and 2 other people who were NMD. We went to Marbella to see to visit the rhinos, because the rhinos, they did their team holiday thing in Marbella. And we went there because they invited us, and we also went there because we needed a little bit of inspiration. We needed a little bit of inspiration because we were a little bit flat.
Yes.
And then we went there, and that day, John Luati went Millionaires Club. So he earned over $1 million commission with Juice Plus. And then they had the celebration, and we were like in a restaurant. They went to the restaurant, and before John got the award, they played a video, and they played a video of all his leaders and all successful people of his team who were like crying and telling in tears how thankful they are for their business Rhino movement and how thankful they are for him and that their business changed their life. And at that moment when I saw this video, because we didn't have any culture or anything on this point, we were just like bam, 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 bam. And then at that point I was like, okay, this is exactly what I want. So I want exactly this team movement feeling, this family feeling. And at the evening, we went with Sven Goebel to a bar, and then he totally understood our challenge at that time. And then he said, okay, what you need is a movement. You need a culture. You need values. You need something which is bigger than yourself, right? You need something which the people want to join, not because of you, but because of the movement, and something which keeps the people, because you don't have the power to keep thousands of people yourself. That's not your task, but the movement can keep 10,000s of people. Yes. So we then created this Club W, and the W just stands for when I want to work, with who I want to work, and what I want to, I don't know,
Yeah.
three
Why,
W's.
when,
What? Yes, what.
what ifs.
And then our slogan is that it's all about we, right? So I have it here as a tattoo, by the way. So it's all about we. That's like our thing. And then this was the key for us. It is still, you know, we had in the first year, we created the Club W. We had a team holiday with 8 people. The next year, we were 50 people. This year, and the next year, we were 150 people on holiday together, team holiday. This year, we were 350 people together on holiday. And for 2018, I'm just planning it, we will be almost 700 people together on holiday. And this is only holiday for our movement. And everything we do, all the events and everything, we brand with Club W, Club W, Club W, because that's something that people want to be a part of, right? So this was for us definitely the one key to create this movement. And everybody is, you know, some people have then their ego problems and want to do their own movement, but I'm convinced that one big thing, you see it with the Unstoppables, right? With Paolo Mucci.
Yes.
You know, numbers don't lie. When you have 10 millions in revenue, numbers don't lie. And this is the Unstoppable movement. And this was for us the thing.
Yes. Oh, wow. Well, you've blown us away, Lucas. Can everyone just like wave madly and give some Christmas love and cheer to each other, and especially Lucas for being our super special guest speaker tonight. We're honoured. I'm supposed to be winding down. This was my finish line tonight, but I got to go do something else. I'm too fired up. So thank you very, very much. What an inspiring guy you are, and we're honoured to know you. You always have a home and a lot of friends here to call on.
Oh.
Yes, and I know we've been back and forward about getting you out here for one of our big events, some kind of, you know, special event, and I know it's going to happen. I totally know it. So we'll bridge that gap even more between Europe and Australia, and I know that we can really learn from each other. So thanks again. And I'll just go, good night, everyone, and Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Lucas.
Reflect.
Bye.
Appreciate. You guys are amazing. Thank you, Lucas.